Horror, like comedy, is a subjective thing, but everyone has their poison. A Quiet Place is thrilling for some, but terrifying for others. The Shining is a classic horror experience for many, but others find it boring. But there's no denying that certain movies can trigger real emotions inside us: terror, disgust, and more importantly, genuine fear. So in this video, we're picking 10 movies that make us fear the unknown and sleep with the lights on. Starting this list is 1975's Jaws. At number 10, Jaws isn't technically a horror film. It has elements of horror in it, but it's mostly a thriller about a monster in the sea. But that doesn't mean it isn't a damn near perfect horror flick. Its greatest achievement, in our opinion, was making a generation of people fear the ocean. Redditor The Lawman 1986 said that the movie still affects them to this day, especially when they go near dark water. But Adam Apter wrote that the movie isn't really about the shark. It's about how people react to its presence. It's filled with human moments that make it what it is. It's one of those movies that make you appreciate just how dangerous the ocean can be. After watching it, you're left feeling queasy about the next time you've got to go to the beach. Coming up at number 9 is The Strangers. So imagine you're at home, you're chilling with your partner or a friend, and then you hear a knock on the door. There's a silhouette of a person out there, and you don't know their intentions. And then they tell you they're gonna kill you. When you ask them why, they just reply, because you were home. According to Redditor Kyle Pyle, that's exactly what makes The Strangers so terrifying. It's about a killer invading a place where you're most comfortable and vulnerable. Chainsaws, clowns, sharks, machetes, ghosts. They're all scary. But is there anything scarier than a killer stalking your home? It's similar to what happens to Laurie in Halloween, except The Strangers feels a lot more visceral. Make sure the doors are locked tonight, folks. Next, at number 8, is a classic, The Shining. The Shining is a perfect example of a slow burn horror. Everything about it has a certain creep factor to it, from the odd carpet designs in the Overlook Hotel to the uneasy feeling of the long corridors. Even the camera moves at a slow, deliberate pace, as though the madness is stalking the people inside it. Speaking of madness, let's talk about a performance of a lifetime by Jack Nicholson. He's a legend when it comes to acting angry, but he goes a step further in this movie. He begins as a regular guy with temper issues, but the hotel's influence slowly takes over him. Once the hotel drives him insane, there's nothing anyone could do to save him. He pushes his wife Wendy to breaking point, stalking her and eventually attempting to kill her and their son Danny. The real fear factor of The Shining is the hotel itself. It won't hurt you in the traditional way. It'll just drive you to insanity by breaking your mind. At number 7, it's Sinister. Sinister is one of the best movies that came out in 2012, and a few horror films have the nightmare-inducing visuals that this one does. Hawk plays a writer who moves his family into a house that's had a history of gruesome murders. If it sounds like a cliche, that's because it is, but Sinister differentiates itself by adding elements of found footage horror to its story. Hawk's character finds old Super 8 tapes that turn out to be snuff films, and it's those films that really get under your skin. They have a handheld aesthetic, are super blurry, and feature unsettling music in the background. But the kicker comes in the end. The main figure you keep seeing in the films, Bogul, is the demon behind the murders. He manipulates kids into committing gruesome murders, then takes their souls. And that's when you realize that the tapes were made by the kids themselves, leaving you with a bad taste in your mouth. For number 6, we went with The Blair Witch Project. There have been a lot of found footage horror films in recent years. They're so widespread that you'd think there's a new one every year. But back in 1999, the Blair Witch Project revitalized the use of found footage as a medium for genuine scares. The marketing for this movie was brilliant too. In order to promote the film, they printed out missing persons posters of the actors and spread them around. So whoever saw the posters actually thought those people were missing. And it worked. The Blair Witch Project is a genuinely frightening experience if you go into it completely blind. The noises you hear outside their tent, the strange markings left around the forest, and of course, the basement. You'll never look at an empty basement the same way again. Coming in at number 5 is The Exorcist. The Exorcist has a really simple message: don't play with Ouija boards. Directed by the same guy who made The French Connection, The Exorcist is a story about a young girl who gets possessed by a demon called Pazuzu. The name might sound funny, but what he makes poor Regan do certainly isn't. In fact, people were so shocked by what they were seeing back in 1973 movie that they puked, and some even fainted. Redditor Baby Form said that one of the most terrifying scenes in the movie was Regan's spider walk down the stairs. They couldn't go near the stairs for a hot minute after that. And that makes two of us. The Exorcist works so well as a horror movie because its effect is psychological. There could be something cursed in your house and you wouldn't even know it until it took over. Up next is Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum at number 4. Gonjiam works like a live stream of real-life events. It's a found footage film, but for the Discord age. The movie follows a team recording a live stream for their web horror series. In order to create a viral enough video, they go to an actual psychiatric hospital that closed down in 1996. Their aim is simple: get the view counter up as high as possible. They enter the premises with GoPros attached to their headgear, and at first nothing happens, and then the paranormal stuff begins. But it turns out that they're faking it in order to get views, which is what typical horror influencers do. But things take a turn when things they didn't plan start happening, and it only gets more terrifying from there. The fact that the movie doesn't rely on jump scares is a testament to how scary it is. And just wait till you get to the girl with the black eyes who starts whispering weird stuff at the camera. Heading into the top 3 is The Innocents. If you think kids are annoying yet innocent little babies, then The Innocents will change your mind. This Nordic horror film nails its atmosphere, makes you feel uneasy about every scene. We'll be honest, The Innocents is a bizarre movie that'll have you cringing at certain points, not because it's cringeworthy, but because of how violent kids can be. Oh, and you best believe that the violence isn't for the squeamish. It's especially worse because the whole thing is carried out by children with newfound powers. And watch out for Ben. Redditors have decided that he's one of the worst characters ever, and that's just proof of how well acted, well written, and well made the movie is. In second place, it's Hideo Nakato's Ringu. We wanted to pick the one starring Naomi Watts, but Hideo Nakata's original Ringu is on a level significantly above the American remake. Ringu's a masterpiece from start to finish and features some of the most iconic horror imagery in the last 2 decades. The most iconic being the image of a girl with wet hair crawling slowly out of the television. The movie will make you feel like you've watched something cursed. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, VHS tapes were how most folks rented their favorite movies. So imagine renting a movie, finding some creepy as hell homemade footage in it, and then getting a call that tells you you're gonna die in 7 days. We'd be out of the country in no time, but that still wouldn't save us, and that's why Ringu is so terrifying. Distance won't stop Sadako Yamamura. Finally, for number 1, we picked Hereditary. Ari Aster should have taken a year off after making Hereditary because we haven't seen a movie this terrifying in years. That's a bold claim, we know, but trust us, you'll be afraid of dark corners in your room and telephone pole. The movie starts off with the death of a matriarch, and things start unraveling from there. The movie's a bit slow in the beginning, with a gradual buildup of themes and character arcs, and then there's that Charlie scene. After that, it's all downhill for Toni Collette's character. And by the way, Toni's a powerhouse in this movie. What an absolutely unhinged and raw portrayal of grief and insanity. And if you think the music will be some respite from the chilling imagery in front of you, think again. It's just as unsettling as the rest of the movie, with a finale that's as chilling as it is terrifying. And that's a wrap, folks. Thanks for watching. So is there a movie that genuinely tapped into your greatest fears? Did we miss any that deserve to be on this list? Tell us down below. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos in the future. See you at the next one.